Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne and today I have some book recommendations for when you're in need of a bit of comfort. I figured that in this weird time a lot of people are reading to escape the real world for a bit or to feel calm, and I figured sometimes you also just need a book that will help you feel comforted and calm, and I have made a list of 5 books that I think will really do that, or books that did that for me. And coincidentally they're all blue or have bluish tones, so maybe that's saying something. Anyway, let's just get into these books. The first book I'm recommending is Bloom by Kevin Panetta and Savannah Ganucheau. This is actually a graphic novel that centers around Ari and Hector and their relationship. The main character is Ari, who lives in a small town and has just finished high school, and his family owns a bakery, but Ari doesn't want to work in the bakery and take over the business someday. He wants to move to the big city with his band to make something of himself, which he doesn't think he'll be able to do while working in the bakery. So there's that teenage angst thing going on, but mostly this is just a lovely, warm, soft story about Ari and Hector falling in love with each other, and Ari finding out that love and kindness are way more important than some of the other things he thought were the most important things in life. It's set in the summer after high school, so there are lovely views of summer landscapes, and it's set in Ari's family's bakery as well, which I think is lovely because I love baking and stories about baking, and this features a lot of baking. The panels are beautiful as well, and there are a lot of panels that just feature baking. Like this one, for example, you see Hector and Ari baking together, or Hector baking and Ari watching. And just the way these panels are made is really beautiful to me, the way they are divided, but you can also see a story happening here with Hector watching Ari and Ari watching Hector. It's wonderful. I love it. It's soft, it's beautiful, it's a nice love story. The bluish tones are really calming as well, and just thinking about this book and looking at the cover makes me feel comforted already. The next book is actually an adult sci-fi novel, and it's The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Now, I will admit that this title doesn't sound very comforting. It sounds a bit ominous, but I promise the novel really is very wonderful. This is a story about the crew of a spaceship called the Wayfarer, and they try to make money, they try to survive, and then they get a very big job that's also very dangerous. And that still doesn't sound very comforting, but this book is mostly just about the characters and about them growing and developing and forging friendships with one another. It's about kindness and how to be good people. And what made me love this book so much, because this is one of my favorite books, is that character-driven aspect of it. These characters are very well developed. They're from different races. There's the human race, and the human race isn't a superior race in this book, which I loved, because I don't need more imperialistic stories. The human race is just one of the races in this universe. There are all kinds of different alien races, I guess, and these people live together on this spaceship, and the acceptance of one another and the exploration of different cultures, because all of these races have very different cultures, and just these friendships between these characters is what made me love this so much and made me feel very comforted. I read this on holiday last year, and I just felt so happy while reading this. The idea that it's possible for people from different backgrounds to really love one another and become friends and care for one another. And this found family on this spaceship taking care of one another as well. And it also helps that it's set on a spaceship far away from Earth. As far as escapism goes, that's pretty good, I think. Next up, I've got a contemporary novel, and it's Little Beach Street Bakery by Jenny Colgan. I love Jenny Colgan's books, but I think this one is my favorite, perhaps because it's another bakery story. This novel follows Polly, who moves to the small tidal island of Polburn after a messy breakup, and she starts a bakery there. And it's about Polly starting over in this small community and doing something she really loves. And it's about this small community. I love a story about a small community in a small village. There's lots of baking, which always calms me down, and there's actually recipes in the back as well for the things that Polly bakes. And Jenny Colgan herself says on the back that this is a story about daring to drop out of the rat race and about how simple things can bring joy. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind in this weird time. The simple things can be so nice as well, can make you really happy. And the rat race has kind of come to a full stop right now. We all have to slow down and make the most of our situation. And I think this book can teach us that it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad situation. We can enjoy the little things, we can do things, find satisfaction in doing things with our hands, like Polly does with her baking. So if you're looking for a nice, light, happy book, this is definitely one to go for. Next up, I've got a non-fiction book, and it's How to Be a Heroine, or What I've Learned from Reading Too Much by Samantha Ellis. In this book, Samantha Ellis looks back on all the heroines she used to love as a child or a teenager growing up. There's Lizzie Bennet, there's Cathy Earnshaw and Jane Eyre. Who else is here? Anne of Green Gables. I don't know what her last name is because I haven't read the book. But there's also Sylvia Plath, Gone with the Wind is in here, lots of classic novels lots of people have read. But what she does is she looks back on these heroines from an adult perspective. And she looks at what she learned from them when she was young and how they shaped her worldview. And along the way, she also talks about her life as the daughter of two Iraqi Jewish refugees living in London. And it's very funny, but also very heartfelt, and you learn a lot about all of these characters we've all read about, or at least I hadn't read about all of them, but there are many in here that I knew and loved, or knew and had some criticism about. And she talks about them in a very loving way, but she's also critical, which is a combination I really loved. This book made me feel very happy, and it made me laugh out loud a couple of times. It was comforting to visit these characters again, but look at them in a new light, and maybe even be a little critical of them or the authors who wrote them, while at the same time not forgetting the love and the connection you feel to them. I think Samantha Ellis did that really well, and this is very feminist but also very loving. And then the last book I'm recommending is a Dutch children's novel, but it has been translated into English, so everyone can read it. If you think it sounds interesting, you can look it up. And it is De Brief voor de Koning by Tonke Dracht. And the translation of it is called The Letter for the King. And this novel has actually become a classic in the Netherlands. It's a children's novel from the 60s, I think. And it follows a young boy who is about to become a knight. He's called Tiuri. You see him here on the cover. Tiuri has to spend the night before he's knighted in a chapel along with his other almost knights. All of them young boys, I think. The challenge here is to stay in the chapel, remain still and think, and after that they're worthy of becoming knights. But of course, someone knocks on the chapel door, someone asks for help, and Tiuri hears in their voice that this is very serious. So he goes to open the door, and that sets the entire plot of the story in motion. Tiuri is handed a letter somehow, and the letter needs to be delivered to the king of the realm on the other side of the mountains. And then Tiuri starts this epic journey. That's very dangerous because some dangerous people want to get their hands on the letter and want to prevent the letter from ending up with the king. And what makes this story so comforting is just what makes a lot of middle grade fantasy comforting. It's all about kindness in this book. It's about what makes you a good person, what makes you worthy of becoming a knight. Is it remaining in a chapel and not answering someone who needs help? Or is it going out on this journey because you promised someone you would and it could save the kingdom? Tiuri goes on this very dangerous journey, but he meets a lot of friends along the way as well. He meets many interesting people, and it's just a wonderful story that will suck you in, but it's also very sweet and comforting. So those are some books I would really recommend if you're in need of some comfort and kindness and calmness. Please let me know in the comments what a book is that you would really recommend to read if you're in need of comfort. What's one of your comfort reads? Is it Harry Potter? It's Harry Potter for me as well, but I figured it would be a bit too obvious to recommend that one. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and have a wonderful day. Bye!